Hey everyone, this is Cindy Gerard with Soul Hype Cindy. We spend our lives navigating friendships, relationships, health. Let's do it together. Let's leap into our best and most enriching lives through true and inspiring stories. Welcome back to Soul Hype Cindy. For all of you that have joined me along this journey, I want to thank you for coming along and learning alongside me. I also would like for you to follow me on Instagram at Soul, SOULHYPECINDY, for more resources and how to get more behind scenes information on the podcast. And for those that are new, welcome to Soul Hype Cindy. This is a place where we are coming together to be inspired, to learn, to grow, and to seek how to live our most enriching and impactful lives. And so I just would appreciate any feedback that you have. If you would subscribe, follow me. I would just love for you to come along with me on this journey and share that information of what you've found out about the podcast or what you love about that podcast with others. So I am Cindy Gerard. I was born in 1978, Generation X. I'm a wife, a believer, a mother of two daughters that are 13 and 11. And I feel that I've lived my life as well as I could, but I've really, in the last probably couple years, have really reflected on the hills and the valleys. And I feel that I've gained a lot of wisdom in that time, but also that there's so much more for me to learn. So that is what Soul Hype Cindy is about. It's about learning, seeking, and growing, but not alone, with each other. So super excited about today's episode. We have Christen Cowgill. She is not only beautiful, but she is a hospitality negotiator, a corporate event consultant who's been in the events world for over a decade, closing big deals and crafting unforgettable experiences across the country. And she is now going to be moving that to internationally. Really exciting for her. Her secret sauce is relationships, resourcefulness, and the killer instinct for saving her clients time and money. When she's not negotiating contracts or managing high-impact corporate events, Christen is deep in the chaos and comedy of life with her three kids, Gage, Tatum, and Jace. She's passionate about investing in the next generation of leaders, especially when it comes to vulnerability, self-awareness, and radical ownership. Whether she's on the mic, at the boardroom table, or helping someone level up, Christen keeps it real, practical, and full of heart. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, no, it's an honor. I love that you're doing this. I think it's a huge impact for the next generation and the upper generation. I think everyone that listens is going to be impacted.
Well, I really feel that so much gets lost, and there's so much truth and wisdom out there that we have to, sink into that and hold true to that, and not just keep it for ourselves.
That's right.
Right?
I love that.
So I know that one of your biggest things that you're advocate of is the power of vulnerability. So in your own life, when did you recognize that vulnerability wasn't a weakness, but actually one of the greatest sources of strength?
I love that question. I think that vulnerability is a word that I misunderstood for the longest time. I attested it to like a collapsing or a weakness. Like it was like, oh, just, put this in a box. People don't need to see your broken pieces. Everything needs to be tight and put together, and you need to present yourself a certain way. And I guess my firstborn is 12. I had almost what felt to me like I was going into a mental breakdown after giving birth to Gage. And that launched me in a therapy journey. I've been with my particular therapist. His name's Randy Powell. He's in California, but we Zoom every week.
That's so great to have that resource. There's something about having seeking and having somebody speak into you.
Yes. So that's where the safety of vulnerability kind of came out. So my little nugget for vulnerability is usually it is not a collapse, it's the steps to courage. Being vulnerable doesn't collapse you. It's actually sends you on this journey of courageous life. It is a scary step because we tend to want to protect our humanity And I kind of want to free people from that concept, because where you feel shame, guilt, condemnation, the only antidote to that is vulnerability. So if you ever listen to Brene Brown or Mel Robbins and all these amazing, people that have studied this forever, a lot of their take on this is like, man, it is like how you find authenticity is through vulnerability.
I think it's interesting because I also had the same, the denotation to vulnerability was not something that was positive.
Right.
It was a sign of weakness. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because it's not weakness, because it's a choice.
That's right.
You get to choose it.
That's right.
It's not that it goes upon you.
Right.
It's something that you're the master of that.
That's right.
And so it's not, I think the connotation, the denotation has always been, for me, something that wasn't something you'd be proud of.
Right.
You would never, I'm proud to be vulnerable. You're like,
right.
Like that is it. So I think that it's our job to educate people that it is a courageous step,
right?
And it's a choice.
That's right.
It is not something.
Well, and think about your stories. It's like everybody has highs and lows in life, right? Mm-hmm. I think that the most connected I've ever felt is when I've not felt alone in my struggle. So if someone has shared a story with me of going through pain or going through, hey, I lost a job. Mm-hmm. I did the best I could. It was like my saving. It's like, great. I've also lost jobs. Yes. I've also, it just connects us on a level that just makes life okay to live, not in a box of protection, but in connectivity to other people. And I feel that vulnerability is this misunderstood concept that you don't have to share everything. You have different circles, and we'll get into that later. Yep. I mean, you have different circles of influence and different circles of protection. And coming out of the season that I was in, where you do have a little bit of a spotlight, I shared maybe 30% vulnerability from a stage, But with my inner circle people, it would go, hey, I'm healing through life, HEAL, with this particular 2 or 3 people. Yes. They get all of me. They get to speak into the broken and the beautiful. They get to encourage and challenge me. They get to, but I think there's a responsibility that we carry inside of vulnerability to not just use coping mechanisms to overshare, which I was known for years. Like I was like, oh, wrong audience. Okay, got it. Pull back, Christen, pull back. But I think there's a beauty in as you grow and go of learning, okay, this is acceptable. This is something I'm learning to not hide who I am.
I think there's, like you're saying about, I think it is really important that people know that, it's being vulnerable. And if you've never been vulnerable, you've never felt that you could be.
Right.
Also having that freedom, but also that it's okay if you're vulnerable to the wrong people at first.
That's right.
It's
right.
okay.
You got to
like,
risk.
I mean, like, it's, like you may be vulnerable
to
the wrong audience. And
That's
you know
right.
what? They may do things that are not cool. Like,
That's right.
Repeat it.
Right.
That's not nice.
Right.
For those that you don't know that's not nice.
Right.
But, it's okay. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay. You're like, well, what if this person judges me or I was vulnerable to this person and then they didn't, but you know what? That also gives you discernment on who you want to spend your time with.
100%. Well, and I think that's the case inside of anything vulnerable. It's like, it is a risk, no matter who you're sharing it with. It doesn't matter if it's my therapist, now granted legally there's some things he can't share, right? But I mean, even with your closest friends, it is risk. It is. And I think it's worth it because that's how you find your tribe. And that's how you find who's not for you. And that's how you find, where you feel safe and seen and understood as you're giving people the ability to feel safe and seen and understood. And that just comes with time. So if there's anything I can encourage people is the first step of vulnerability isn't, I was vulnerable and they ruined it, so I'm never doing that again. It was, no, you were vulnerable with the wrong people.
Yes.
It's worth the chance because you can't fully be seen without knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. And so vulnerability molds those two and says, be vulnerable with your strengths as well. That's humble and beautiful, just as weaknesses are humble and beautiful. That's your whole person. And so when you know what your fears, worries, joys, and you can celebrate those with others, it just interconnects us. It makes life worth living to an extent, right?
Well, I have a friend who has a friend, and she knows that she's a safe space, and so she always talks to her about like her struggles, and I'm like, I'm so happy that she has you, because I would say this for a lot of moms. Mm-hmm. I think from what I've been told is that there's so much fear of judgment.
Yeah.
To share about the challenges of motherhood.
Right.
Because society's told us, or we've, people are like, oh, social media, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you post what you want on social media.
Right.
So if you think that, you feel like you need to present that, because there's no perfect family.
That's right.
There's no perfect mother. There's no perfect kid. Doesn't matter if your kid is captain of this, because we're not perfect people. And so I think that sharing that and encouraging women, and you don't even necessarily have to be a mother, just encouraging that it's okay, because you don't know the magic that happens when you share that.
Right.
And then you make other people not feel alone.
100%. That's funny that you said that. I have a moment when I went into a MOPS group at a church. It's Mothers of Preschoolers. It's a whole movement. That's an international movement out there. And we had it at the church. And I came at, I'm dead serious. I don't know if I had brushed my hair that day. I don't know if I had brushed my teeth, if I'm being honest. I had just had twins, Tatum and Jace, and I had a toddler. And I roll up in there just to get a hot breakfast because someone's watching my kids. Straight up. Yeah. And someone looked at me and she goes, "Oh, honey," and put me in the bathroom to help me. I was like, "Look, it's a day.
It's a day."
But the freedom. I had a girlfriend go, "Thank God." It's like, if I had it all put together in those seasons, who's benefiting from that? Who's benefiting? I used to tell people, if you come to my house, I don't know what's going to be on the floor. I don't know at this point, because lack of sleep is a thing in those seasons.
One of my closest friends, Shelly, Lillian was, I think, maybe 18 months. So Sophia was maybe 5 months.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to go to Wednesday night dinner at the church.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to go, wanted somebody else to cook for me. Like, I didn't want to eat dinner by myself. Jeff was working, and I went, and I was trying to I had Sophia in my arm, and I had Lillian I was trying to get her in the high chair, and the thing wasn't snapping, and I literally thought that I was like going to start crying and I actually looked around, and I kind of looked at some people, and they're like, do, and there's this woman that I'd never met before. All I hear is, "Hand me that baby."
Yeah.
And I literally turned around and handed her Sophia. But she saw me. She saw the struggle, and all she said was, "Hand me that baby." And I literally just I didn't even know her name.
Yeah.
Funny that I actually knew her husband, but because they were newly married, and so she's one of my closest friends. But that's another thing too, is as women, when you see other women struggling, listen to that whisper that tells you to help them.
That's right. That's right. Which is the steps of vulnerability. If someone were to ask you, like, ask me, how did you learn vulnerability? Is the best analogy I can give you is the same way I learned how to pray. I just did it. I just started opening my mouth, learning, that's one of my biggest things when I was in the church world, was praying over people. And, but you don't get there because you just automatically know how to pray. I didn't. I learned how to connect with God. I learned how to start praying. I learned and I took risks, and it was just like, "Hey, I'll pray with you," know? And the first time it's, "Hey, God, what's up? She needs you." Here we are. It's just, you got to give yourself grace, and you just got to have the courage and the ability to just wrestle with certain things in your life to find freedom. And that's one of the things that I think is just very similar to learning how to pray. It's learning how to be vulnerable.
The next question is, so many of us struggle with boundaries because we fear rejection or guilt and judgment. Yeah. Yep. What's something you wish more people understood about the soul-protecting nature of healthy boundaries?
Oh, I love this question. I'm going to lean up for this one.
Right. Say it up, girl.
So let me tell you this, though. I was terrible at boundaries my whole life.
Oh, really?
Oh, my gosh. Like, it was...
I'm like the boundary person.
Okay, so I am now. I am now because I found the power in boundaries, right? So I used to think boundaries were mean, and it was unkind, and I would look at them as...
polite.
Right. So I built like this whole... my mentality was like, you're building walls to keep people out, and actually I have changed that. You're building doorways for healthy relationships. And so the way that I would best describe this is... there's in the Old Testament, one of the things I've studied with my therapist is the Exodus. And there's always, every court had what it was, outer courts. And if you never studied it, just study it, because there's outer courts, the design of it. Okay. Outer court, marketplace, inner court, holy of holies. And it had gates.
Okay, say that one more time. Say that
outer court, marketplace, inner court, holy of holies. Cool. So I look at my friendships like that as well, just so you know.
Okay.
So wherever you are, if you're in the outer court, there was a responsibility for access there. If you were in the marketplace, there was a deeper responsibility and more access. If you were in the inner, way more responsibility and access. If you're in the holy of holies, very high responsibility for your access. So the way that Lisa Turkhurst has this in her book as well, but it is a beautiful rooted in me now. Instead of just jumping in friendships and sharing everything like women do, I now take a season to watch, ask questions, learn, see where a person, if I meet a new person that I think might be moving into a different circle for me, I look for things like, okay, if I give them 2% access, are they modeling 2% responsibility? And if they are, then, man, let me try them at 3% responsibility and 3% access. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because I think what we do as women sometimes that I like a heated warning on is we decide we're going to divulge everything, 2 weeks meeting someone, and not give them time to see if they can hold or have the capacity for that type of responsibility.
This is so funny because my friend told me, one of my good friends, she said that she loves to talk. Like I do, and so I understand her. But she told me that she went to a birthday party, and it was at one of the water parks. And she just met this new mom, and she was like, and I guess the woman was an introvert. And so she didn't talk a lot.
Best.
So she couldn't, like, she just said it was just like, she's like, Cindy, I don't know what it was. I literally just vomited all this personal information on her. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, you're that mom? She goes, I guess I was. And, but anyways, I just thought you were saying that, because we can share, because
100%.
We can overshare, and so there's really to be more mindful.
That's right. Well, and I think as you get, I mean, there's times where, listen, I have vented to the wrong crowd, and I've had to make phone calls to say, hey, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I wasn't in a great place. I was, and I own that. Like, I think we'll get into ownership later, but I think the beauty inside of when I'm saying boundaries, when you can really look at this access, I also work off percentages. I don't believe anybody does anything at 100% purity. I think there's always some sort of 2% you can always work on growth-wise, no matter what you're in. So boundaries is one of those things you don't arrive. It is a continual growth process to where and there are seasons where certain friendships have been seasonal.
Yes.
And we've had to have really hard conversations because I'm evolving in a certain direction and this person's evolving in another direction. I think
let's touch on that real fast because I know there's a person that I know, and she felt like her circle was she kind of had outgrown that. She felt like she was growing in a place spiritually. And but there's a lot of really hurt feelings.
Yes, that's hard.
Okay, so on both sides. So in a situation like that, where people literally just grow in a different area of their life, where they want to spend their time differently, and it really isn't at fault of either person. It really is just like somebody's just choosing a different thing in that new chapter. Yeah. So for the person who's hurt by that, because their friendship may have been plenty of years and stuff like that, what would you say to them that would give them some kind of it's okay to let your friend fly in this different direction,
right?
And still have and honor the time that you were together, but also love and encourage, and still even maybe pray for them in that time.
100%.
So what would you say to the hurt friend?
Well, there's two thoughts.
Okay.
It's okay to be hurt. That is
okay
painful.
To be hurt.
That is painful. So I give permission for those feelings especially in my relationships. It's like, because there's things I've done that have hurt people. I didn't know it hurt them. And so the conversation isn't, I don't get to choose whether I hurt you or not. You are hurt. Yes. And so allowing for space for those emotions and feelings to exist in at the same time holding true to, I still have to make this decision.
Yes.
So it's like we don't live well in those dichotomies. We don't live well in those tensions. And we think one needs to be solved, and it's really tensions to be managed. So your friend that's hurt, I would say, hey, it's absolutely okay to be hurt. That is painful. Yes. And I'm sorry that you're going through that. That's a lot. I'm sorry if you're going through where your emotions are just really, I'm losing a friend, or that was my safe place, or, and at the same time, honor the person to go, you know what, I think she does need to fly.
Yes.
I think there's some spaces that she does need to grow and go in. And now I get to go, okay, I have an open spot. Are my eyes open to receive whatever's next? Because I do think that we shut down and not realize that two things can coexist at once. I can be terrified and still courageous.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I can be hurt and still celebrate people, and that's a big thing for me. I also think inside of boundaries, you have to know what your values are as a person. So like, I value, one of my top values is if you have breath as a human, you absolutely have honor, respect, and dignity. I give that. That's a revelation I've had about life. So inside my boundaries, those three things are high. I will honor you. I will respect you no matter what you do to me, no matter what you say about me, no matter what goes out into the world. My reputation's not my responsibility. My character is.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
So you
I
can
do.
still maintain integrity in hurt seasons and honor people as they feel they need to move on.
It's interesting because, like you said, two things can coexist. And my pastor, Dr. Taylor, who helped me with like my divorce counseling, premarital counseling, all stuff, like 20 years ago, he said, this is the thing. We're all good and bad.
Yes.
We're not either or. We can be depressed, but also find joy in somebody else's accomplishment.
100%.
We can struggle with something, but still love others.
That's
so it's like the world wants to put you in either a black or white box.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
You're either a good person or you're a bad person. You can be
good or evil.
Yeah.
Right? It's that's what,
like,
that's,
yeah.
But I will say this though. There is a beauty in learning how to live with an infinite mindset. So Simon Sinek wrote a book called The Infinite Game.
Okay.
And finite is what we're born with. We're born that way. You kick the ball, you win the game, you play in band, you get the instrument. Everything is like everybody's trying to win. We're trying to beat each other.
Yes.
And that's innate. It's you get 100 on the test, you win the football game, win or loser. When we bring that in relationships, we cause damage.
Yes.
Because I'm not in a relationship with you to beat you.
Yep. Nope.
Do you see what I'm saying?
You can't compete with me because I want you to win too.
That's right.
Yep.
So it's this
I said that
mind
one time to some people on the
shift.
team,
Yeah.
and they didn't get it.
No,
I'm like, I don't like you can't beat me. Like I want you to win as well.
And if I would say this to couples or people in business together, it's
Yes.
like when we're in a disagreement or when we are in an argument or when we're in something that feels uncomfortable for us both because we have two different vantage points, the goal at that moment is not to beat you.
Yes.
Because we both lose.
Yep.
The goal is connection.
Well, yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
It's not, and I agree with you. But it's sometimes it's not even the two people. What some people forget, especially like couples, like it's not even us two. Like we don't just get hurt. There's actually collateral damage.
100%.
There's collateral damage in your family. There's collateral damage in your friendships.
Yes.
At work, there's collateral damage in synergy.
The ripple effect is what I call it.
So it's really walking alongside, and this is actually a great time to take a pause and talk to our listeners and our viewers. Again, thank you so much for joining us. If you would please follow me on Instagram at SoulHypeciNdy. I would greatly appreciate it, and you'll get some more information and some behind the scenes as well as resources that we discuss on the episode. And we also want to thank our Formula Fresh, our episode sponsor, which their number one thing is these matcha morning energy bites. And I was just going to taste one just so, just see if I liked it. And then I wound up eating the whole thing. There's more than there's more comes in it.
Isn't that what we do? Just one bite, right? Right.
I'll just take a little nibble, but it's so good. And everything in there is gluten-free. And it's like organic cashew butter, chia seeds, matcha powder, rolled oats, and everything is there fresh. And I didn't know this, but it is not a franchise.
No, I didn't know that either. So when you told me, because I take my kids there all the time, so they love the acai bowls. I usually get either a peanut butter or an almond smoothie. Like it's awesome. It's like one of our favorite spots to go.
Well, it's so nice to take your kids and your family to a place that's really healthy and they enjoy it.
Yes.
Yes. It's nice that you can like
so
order whatever you want.
I told you when I found out they were our sponsor, I was like, good, I've paid enough money. No, I'm just kidding. I bought so much stuff there over the past few years. It's awesome.
But it really is. So it is women owned, and she's local, and she went on a wellness journey. And she's just like us, wellness is more than physical wellness, spiritual, and she went on a health journey. It's all interconnected.
That's right.
All interconnected.
That's right.
And so we are so thankful for Formula Fresh that's located in Destin Commons across from Bass Pro Shops, where you can get in and get out. If you're coming from South Walton and you're stopping at Whole Foods, you can just do a little boop, boop around the corner, pick up all your organic protein powder balls, all your fresh juices, and they do custom juices.
Yes, they do.
I didn't know that.
I found that out when I went. Yeah, I didn't know it either.
So she even has people that are like on a cancer journey. They need some really nutrient dense drinks, and so I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah,
I'm like,
awesome.
That makes so much sense. So for all your healthy wellness, yummy needs, Formula Fresh in Destin Commons.
It's awesome.
Now back to the show. Now we're on our third question. If someone listening feels emotionally stuck, disconnected from their truth or numb to their inner world, what's the first gentle step you'd offer to help them come back to themselves?
I love this. I have been there, so you are not alone. Even in one of the hardest seasons of my life, I have this protocol that I do that it really helps me. I remind myself to breathe. Take deep inhaled breaths, hold them for 4 seconds. I mean, there's so much research on deep breathing because most of us shallow breathe. We need more oxygen, and that's just literally a scientific thing that resets your vagus nerve in your body, and it resets your whole being. And the other thing I do is I take my hand, I put it over my heart, and I talk to myself, you are loved, you are safe, you are brave, you are capable. And then I'll get, like in the morning, my morning routine is I'll get out of bed. The first thing I do, feet hit the ground, I go to the mirror. If you stand 6 feet from the mirror and you stare at the mirror, it's weird. First 5 times I did it. Say 10 times I love you to yourself. Yes. And then go out and get in the sun for 5 to 10 minutes immediately. Get outside. You will reset. It is scientific.
Well, it's so interesting because we had Stephanie Wiesel on a couple episodes ago, and she was talking about like all this stuff that is in society. What's happened is a lot of working from home. Sitting down, being indoors, and not having wind, like not going by your, like not getting outside and having like fresh air, and how it's like just people are like, well, I want to feel better. It's like it's a very basic thing, but then they'll sit on their phone, or they'll watch it versus just like actually going outside and like breathing.
That's right.
Getting the sun, getting your vitamin D, and just being. So there's something scientific about it. And so you do that every day.
I do it at least 4 or 5 times a week for sure. It depends on if kids wait, it's chaos as a mom sometimes, but I try to get that in. And I've taught my daughter, like there's called somatic stretching. So I'll throw on a little video that you just kind of shake it out.
Move everything around.
This is for physical. And then my spiritual is I do journal. Yes. I do have quiet time. I do go on prayer walks with no phone. I have these moments throughout the day that reset, because I think we live in such a fast pace that if you have a thought, oh, I'm going into depression, it's like, that's a thought.
Yes.
You open the doorway to it when you start to agree with it. So come out of agreement with that,
Yes.
and I'm not saying there's not scientific, I'm not getting into that, but I will say a lot of times we have thoughts that we turn into things that are really just lies.
Yes.
They're not the truth.
Yes, they're not the truth.
And sometimes people have come out of really hard seasons, anything traumatic that's ever happened to you. The thing that's tough is all of us have had some sort of trauma, especially if you're getting into your 40s. You've had something traumatic happen.
Yes.
That's just the ebbs and flows of life. I think there's this beautiful responsibility not to live in a victimhood mentality no matter what's happened to you, because even though things have happened that may not be your fault, it is your responsibility to heal. And that's a hard truth for people.
That's a hard truth.
It really is.
I think that doing something like just practical steps, getting outside.
Yes.
Yes.
Move your body.
Move your body.
And I don't care if your movement could be 10 steps. Hey, celebrate that. You did 10 steps. Yesterday you did 4.
Yes.
Like, I think that we are so hard on ourselves that
Why are we so hard on ourselves? Because I'm so hard on myself.
Yeah, I still am.
I literally woke up this morning and I said, just like, hey, and I'm like, hey, and I go, I was praying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? He said, hey, and I said, I'm proud of me.
Yes.
And he goes, and he giggled. And I go, well, why'd you laugh? And he goes, I just wasn't expecting you to say that. And I'm like, that's okay for me to say that to myself.
Right.
Like, you know what? You are working hard. So, you know what I mean? It's
100%.
It's like you can't even pat yourself on the back. Like
No.
it's before, I mean, I don't know if it was just, how I was raised, but you do a great job. You don't need a pat on the back.
That's right.
You don't pat yourself on the back. You don't need, but it's okay.
Well, it's like this.
It's okay
you and I've had this conversation so many times on this topic especially when you're a strong woman or you're perceived as strong. My words, you're so strong, you're so resilient. Well, I'd love to tell you
it's
guys.
It's not easy to be you.
Right,
yeah.
right. And I want to tell
it all together, and I'm like, what?
Like, come into my head, Yeah. But the other side of it, too.
Nobody has it all together.
No one does.
No one does.
It's also, there's this piece like, hey, if we talk about being strong, being resilient, do you want to have the stories on how I got here? Because
yes.
I don't mean to come across that way. I don't love living in masculine energy all the time. Like there's a beauty of sometimes I want to be taken care of. Sometimes
yes.
I want to just look in the mirror and say, girl, I'm so proud of you. I mean, it's like last night, I'll give you a quick example. I had this awesome dinner planned for a client in Buffalo, New York. It was smooth. I had done all these emails to this guy. I made one misstep, and it's on me.
Yes.
I did not have him update a banquet event order, which basically means the contract.
Yes.
After these emails. I have a lot going on in life.
Yeah.
I got kids going in every direction. It was a misstep. I do about 60 of these a year.
Yes.
It's like the back of my hand. I get a phone call from the host that was going because I'm obviously not there. And he says, the table is not set up how it's supposed to be. There are no wine glasses on the table. There's no bar up. And I'm in my head, I'm going, and all I wanted to do was blame. Well, he has the email and da-da-da. And yes. I took a breath. I didn't react. And I go, I didn't get an updated BEO. That's on me.
Yes.
Do you have time to shift the room? Would you like me to call and see if they can shift? And so there's this tension inside of wanting to defend yourself when you're in a weak moment instead of going, I plan 60 of these a year. 58 of them are perfect.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I'm going to go to bed reeling over one that I had a misstep in instead of go, hey, girl, you know what? 58 were great. This one, own your stuff.
Yep.
Do better next time. Figure out what you need to learn in and let it go.
Yes.
We hold on to the negative so tightly, think we can't be human. You are human.
Yes.
You can't have all the add-ons you have inside a business and go, I'm still making schedules and lunches and doing this for the kids and I'm still paying the bills and doing. It's okay not to be perfect at this life. It's okay to fail if you consider it that. I don't look at it like that. I'm like, you're always going forward. It's
yes.
what you do with it.
It's what you do with it.
Yes.
I think it's really important that you said that a lot of, I've noticed, in customer service situations, two things. Number one, everybody messes up. It's okay to say, I messed up.
Yes.
I am sorry.
Yes.
And also, it's okay to say, I do not know.
That's right.
Let me find out.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's what happened. We were at a, just quick story, side note, because I'm on bunny trail for a minute. Okay. We were at a dinner. This was months ago. Kids, this server came up and she completely forgot to put the order in. We were sitting there 40 minutes.
Oh,
it was
gosh.
busy. Yeah, so I'm sitting there because of my person. I'm like, what is going on? So I finally said, hey, can you check on the food? She comes back and she goes, I am so sorry. Your ticket is still in my book. I forgot to put this in. And I go, that is no problem. We will wait. And I said, give us another round of, the kids, lemonade and Dr. Peppers and root beers or whatever. And then I'm probably having a glass of wine, right? And we waited. And I gave her a bigger tip because of that, because the courage it takes to
yes.
tell me you messed up
yes.
keeps me there.
Yes.
It really does.
Yes.
It's like that was, and I told her later, I said, that is one of the bravest things you can do. And not everybody's going to understand it. And some people are going to get mad at you.
Yes.
But I want to tell you, what you just did for me modeled a maturity that's so beyond what most people can do. And that's why I stayed. I'm like, you actually risked your reputation or whatever you want to call it, your need to blame somebody else for a problem you caused. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she didn't go get her manager.
She didn't.
Yeah, she owned it.
She didn't blame it on the kitchen.
Yeah,
she didn't blame it on the chef. She didn't blame it. You know what I'm saying? It's like to have the courage to say, are you still going to accept me even if I messed up? And she modeled it, and she was like 26. I'm like, God, who's your parents?
Yeah, who's your parents?
Right? I'm like,
I need to meet them.
Please let me meet them
so
because this is so important to me, right? It's the value system. What I want to say inside of this really quickly is what I would love people to know is this isn't innate. Emotional intelligence is not innate. It is learned. You have to seek it out.
You have to seek it out.
It's not you grew up and it was in your home. No, it's you have certain aspects of it in your home if your parents are healthy.
Yes.
But they have had to have sought it out. That's why I'm a huge advocate for therapy.
Yes.
I mean, I'm huge. I'm like, please see a therapist. Please find someone that you connect with, that you feel safe enough to tell your truth. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's why. So anyway, I was very impressed with that moment because I don't see that a lot in the service world.
Well, it's funny because I remember to make comment, like there was this thing and I was like, oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. And he's like, Cindy, you didn't do it. So-and-so did it. I go, no, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I did that. What date was it? And he told me, he's like, Cindy, the software tells us who did it. It wasn't you. I'm like, oh, okay. Because like with my, especially like my assistant, it's like, nope, it's my fault.
It's all me.
Because I'm okay with something being my fault.
100%.
You know, it's like, I'm okay, like saying I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
I've learned to be okay. Like I've had to learn, because I tied my worth to what I did. I tied my identity for a long time to, oh my gosh, if I hurt somebody or if I make a mistake, I'm the mistake instead of it's just a mistake.
It's just a mistake.
Do you see what I'm saying?
So you kind of struggle with perfectionism.
I struggled with letting people down. Like it's my fault.
Yes.
So there's a falsehood in nature or a facade that you have to take with you when you don't have the freedom to be authentically yourself. And so vulnerability and self-awareness and ownership is what helped me come out of that cove, is because I found power in, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have it all together. I'm going to let people down.
Yes.
That space inside when you get into
grace.
That.
Yeah.
But it's, and to go the believer route, I got to know the personhood of Jesus really well. Not just a book, not just head knowledge, not just verses that I can memorize on a sheet of a paper and chime out to you for a scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes as believers, and this isn't trying to call out the religious structure by any means, but sometimes the facade of the Bible, and I read it every day. I'm an advocate. Read your Bible.
Yes.
But the tension is you hide behind those and you don't get healing, because you can't just get delivered, is what the Bible is, and not think you still have a rat's nest. The nest is still there even if the rats are gone. So how do you build a new mindset? That's why it says renew your mind. Why does it say that so much? It is all over the Bible. The reason is because you have old patterns of thinking that you don't have freedom in, even if the rats are gone. So it's, in my opinion, it's deliverance and therapy, or deliverance and talking to people that keep you on a new way of thinking.
New way of thinking.
Because then, but also,
because we're meant to grow.
100%.
We're meant to grow.
But also,
we're not supposed to just stay
that
stagnant.
entire book, the Bible, Alive and Active, was meant to introduce you to a person. And you can know the whole book without knowing the person. And that's scary today.
That is super scary.
Because then you don't have freedom. You don't have freedom. The freedom is in the absolute experience of a relationship with this person.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where the Holy Spirit, and we can get into all that, but the reality is that that's where the breaking free of those old mindsets, that's where no one gets to tell me who I am. He tells me who I am.
Yes.
And that's where that rock in a hard place, 100%. 100%.
Beloved, cherished.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chosen.
Flawless is what he calls us. I mean, in Song of Solomon, he's like, you are flawless before me. And it's just, anyway, that's my passion right there on people. I'm like, listen, get to know him. This book is always going to give you guidance for sure. And yes, it will make your life better. But man, the freedom comes
Yes.
When you know, I'm not going to have it all together, but thank God you do.
Yes.
Thank God you do.
I can always go back to that firm foundation.
That's right.
Yep. Now, I know that one of your greatest passions is speaking to the younger generations.
Yes.
And I really feel that right now there's a lot of awakenings going on, and a lot of that is recalibrating the American dream. Like, we're taught, like, you need this and you have that.
Yeah.
And so in a world that glorifies hustle and constant noise, how do you personally stay emotionally well, spiritually grounded, and tune into what really matters, and not necessarily what you do, but what you would say to our listeners? What should they
do to stay grounded?
To stay grounded, personally stay emotionally well, stay grounded, and tune into what really matters. So what are some practical steps for them?
Practical steps is get to know yourself.
Get to know yourself.
Okay, so I had a group of girls that I kind of mentored in California, and they would come out for the summer. They were D1 athletes, D1, D2 athletes. And you had to be a sophomore or above. You couldn't be a freshman.
Okay.
Because we want leaders. Okay. So
Yes.
I really gravitate towards leaders.
Yep.
And so they came out, and one of the things I would have them do is take a journal with them wherever they went. And they always go, why? Why do I have a journal in my back pocket? Why am I taking a journal down to the beach? Why am I taking? And I was like,
journaling is a secret to a lot of things.
100%.
Everybody,
100%.
you don't have to do it. I started with the Dear Diary.
That's right.
We need to bring back if you have kids,
Dear Diaries.
Dear Diary.
Yeah, we'll get them in here next time. But the reality is that I said you're going to get in conversations throughout the day. The only question I want you to ask yourself after every conversation: did that fill me up, or did it deplete me? And then they would bring that journal back, and I would ask them, why? Let's go through it.
Okay.
Why did that conversation deplete you? Why did you leave there exhausted? Why did you leave there feeling unseen and insecure? And there you would see, I mean, it would be pages. We do this at the end of every week, and it would be pages of these girls going, man, I left there and I lit up because we were talking about this. And I was like, cool, that's probably tied to a value.
Yes.
Let's figure out. So one of them, it was a value of serving or compassion or whatever it may be. Like I said, my top ones are honor, culture. I love consideration. That's become a huge value of mine. But they leave there and they get to know themselves so well that you're going to see what emotionally ignites you. You're also going to find what circles feel safe.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's a duality inside of doing this, because I think a lot of times, especially with athletes were so much easier to counsel. I used to go.
Because they're so used to discipline.
100%.
And they're used to being coached.
Yes. And the other thing with athletes is they're used to studying film.
Okay.
So they study film on what they did well.
So the people that are not athletes, let's say you're talking to a 30-year-old.
I would take a journal.
Take a journal.
What filled you up?
What filled you up?
What depleted you? And then I would say, when you take that's your emotional side, finding your belief in something. Spirituality for me, mine is obviously I have a biblical worldview. I believe in Jesus.
Yes.
That's mine. But you got to find faith in something. You got to believe in something.
Yes.
That is a non-negotiable.
Can't put too much pressure on yourself.
No.
Just so you guys, we were not designed to do this life alone.
Right. Find something
you're not
to believe
alone.
in.
Like, you're not alone.
And then the mental stuff is all the things that I told you earlier. Get in a mirror. Tell yourself you love yourself. Go outside. Breathe the fresh air. Go on a walk without your phone.
Yes.
Get recalibrated to you.
Get recalibrated to you. And that goes into my next question. Self-awareness can be confronting. It reveals our light and our shadow. What has self-awareness taught you about love, both giving it and receiving it?
I think there's so many people that believe they're self-aware.
Like me, I'm realizing, just so you know, I'm going through this right now. My husband's like, I have great self-awareness. He's like,
but do you? No, I know. And listen, but again, you don't
I'm
arrive.
working on it.
But you don't arrive. You don't
why
arrive.
do we want it? We don't need to arrive.
I think it's
Enjoy
that competition.
The ride.
I don't know. I don't know. Not everybody necessarily has that. Some people are, I think you and I are doers. Like we can run really fast paces. I don't know if everybody wants to do that. I've found that there's a lot of people in my life that just love their life. I'm like, really? You just like to coast.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm always building.
Yes.
And so my being is what I struggle with.
Yeah, so just
sitting.
Sitting. Like, that's why I think I said that said that to myself this morning. Like, it just came to me. I was like, you know what?
I'm proud of you.
Because everybody's telling me that. I'm like, I'm just trying really hard. And,
right.
And so I think that so self-awareness, so just a practical tool for people that think they're self-aware, like myself, but just something that like I could do a very practical thing besides maybe do a little more in-depth journaling?
Right. Well, I would do in-depth journaling, but the other questions you could ask. So last night's a prime example. I had a failed event, if you call it that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You had a mistake. You made a mistake.
Right. So if you want to know if you're self-aware or not, do you listen instead of defend?
Yes.
Yourself?
Yes.
Do you react instead of respond?
With everybody pretty much besides my husband, I think. Well, Jeff gets a grunt.
So these are like, okay, if someone tells you that they hurt your feelings, do you get defensive?
If I hurt their feelings?
Right. Well, do you see what I'm saying? These are practical tools. I'm giving people
say it again.
I would say, do you listen instead of defend yourself?
Okay.
Do you listen? Do you seek to understand a perspective that may be outside your perspective without getting defensive on your perspective? Mm-hmm. Do you take a breath when you get heated and you're able to respond helpfully instead of react emotionally unhealthfully? Mm-hmm. And can you get alone with yourself and navigate your day and say, man, I killed it here. I see here I could have had this conversation a little bit differently. Let me make sure I said this the way I intended. So I'm going to call this person and say, hey, I've done this a lot with my friend Hillary Fosdick. I've called her and said, hey, I said this like this, and I think I meant it like to say this. I want to make sure you're going away with what I intended. You know what I'm saying? I've done it with Cindy Cole. I'm like, Cindy, I had a hard convo with her yesterday. I won't go into details, but it was like I was feeling something. I needed to make sure that it was in line with what we were talking about. Yes. And so when I call her, and you've got to have those people gracious enough to say, hey, I think you misunderstood. This is what I meant. Or, hey, I think I said this wrong.
Just respond to each other in grace.
Grace, yeah. Yes. You have to have that gauge of love to do that too, which is, that's my, if I'm going to, feel confident or comfortable. There's certain things I don't enter. Like I have certain relationships in my life where, and I get to have these perspectives. Doesn't mean they're totally healthy, and I'm willing to say that. I think I've seen capacity of emotional health in certain relationships to say, man, if I go there, it's not going to be worth the conversation because they're only going to get defensive. Yes. Because they don't have the tools. So I look at people's capacity as well. So what I would say, like your steps to emotional integrity, your steps to self-awareness have to come with, you also have to look at other people to say, can they handle this? It's the same with ownership. I call it radical ownership.
Radical ownership.
Radical ownership isn't what you do day to day. It's when you hurt someone, are you radically, like I'll give you the best example I can give. Years ago, I was in an argument with a friend of mine. I was in the wrong. Everything I was doing because I was so offended was to hurt them. And I had a moment where they go, man, that really hurt me. Like looked me in the eye. And I had a deep breath moment where, you want to tell the truth or do you want to play the facade like you didn't mean to? Yes. I did mean to. Yes. Because we're awesome and we're buttholes.
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
We are both.
Yes, we are. And that moment 7 years ago, I stood and it's like I had this crazy awakening where I was like, I'm done hiding. And I go, I meant to hurt you. Yeah. And I am so sorry. I meant to hurt you.
I think it's really cool because just even that moment has kind of shaped your ability, and that awakening, that thought and that whisper is actually, you actually stopped. And you're, like you said, radical ownership, and then you're honest. Yes, and that's the thing. We just be honest.
Well, and
with yourself and with others.
People. So that's what I would say. Like people that don't know themselves, get a therapist. You got to get real honest with yourself, and people are like, "Oh, it was boring. I did it one time." Cool. Yeah. Have you ever done anything one time and it worked?
Yes. Yeah.
Like if it's not your person, find others.
Find another.
It's like insurance. I go after 3 quotes before I find the right one.
Make sure you get the right coverage of the good company, or you're going to be in a lawsuit. But well, for all the listeners, our time is up. And again, if you would please follow me at Soul Hype Cindy on my Instagram. Christen, thank you so much for coming. Yeah. I feel honored that I made it through one of the layers of the boundaries. I'm like, okay, like at least she knows I'm legit. So at least
I loved it. I've loved it. I will tell you this though. What I want to honor you in is, I don't think people realize. I mean, most people that know you, but your listeners that may not know you, you came out of an incredible, thriving business. And you take on something that's laid on your heart because you want to give it away to others and give space for people to share their stories and share what they're passionate about. That's a big, big jump, Cindy. And it gives people like me, I'm going to cry with you. It gives people like me the courage to be brave in my story. And so when I say you give things away that inspire people, it's because when you do things like this and take these kind of risks, not everybody's going to understand it, and it's going to feel lonely at times. But what you're doing is holy, because you're saying yes to the call. So give it away, girl. I'm proud of you. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really, I feel honored to be able to share wisdom with. There's so much wisdom out there, and there's so many people that have so much noise, and I want to give them the good news.
Right. And
you're not alone. Yes.
Right?
Let's seek, let's learn, let's grow. We only have one life.
Well, and I think you and I have talked about this a little bit. It's like when you are women like us, sometimes you feel alone.
Yes.
And I've had to work for years to find my tribe, because I felt so misunderstood. And now I don't care that I'm misunderstood. It's like there's a freedom piece, and please misunderstand, because I'm loving these decisions that I'm making now. I'm loving the life. I have one life. You have one life.
You have one life.
Like, freaking live it to the fullest.
Yes.
Quit being so
Follow your
terrified
dream.
of your light.
Yes.
Expose it,
Take the lampshade off.
I appreciate it. I do.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I greatly appreciate that. Again, thank you to our sponsors for today's episodes, Formula Fresh and Destin Commons. When you right across from
Bass Pro.
I don't usually go to Bass Pro shops.
No,
I don't go there, but I know where it's located.
That's right. Right.
So it's right across from there. Stop in, support them. They are about wellness, and they're about all natural ingredients, gluten-free, and just very delicious things. And it's really sometimes hard to find very delicious things that are super healthy for you as well.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us today. Bye. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Please like, subscribe, and follow Soul Hype Cindy.